Good morning, good evening, wherever you are, whenever you're watching, and thanks for tuning in to the 270 Win It Above the Fray League, brought to you by Toyota. Coming at you live from the Windy City, we're here in Chicago, Illinois for this regular season neutral site matchup between Keegan, Steven, and the two online players, Prisoner-elect Trump and the Only President. Without further ado, let's send it down to our brilliant commentators in the booth, Spencer, Joe, and Alex. Take it away, boys.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to 270 Live Multiplayer Smackdown, featuring our two contestants, Keegan and Steven, along with two admittedly dubious online Bernies. Keegan playing Abe Lincoln today, and Steven with the great Julius Caesar. Julius Caesar, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to see a competition between a fairly established 270 streamer and competitor and our guest contestant, Stephen Bells. Along with me in the booth today are Joe Miller and Alexander Lucy. How are you doing, gentlemen?
Ready to watch some great 270.
I think this is going to be an exciting matchup. I think, this is a good moment for Steven to try and improve himself. And you never know how good the online players are, but, I think we can say that both of our players are better than some randos.
The odds are pretty good. We see Steven going into the gun lobby, and, Keegan conflicting in New York with Blue Bernie. Abraham Lincoln trying to go for a maybe town and gown African-American match, which works very well with his play style. Joe, where do you think Steven's opening is bringing him to?
I mean, Steven, who is using Julius Caesar, the gun lobby bonus is very good for Julius Caesar. So I think it's the right move to go into that direction. And then he can also, like he's doing right now, pip into Illinois and Ohio, which are solid states. So I like what Steven's doing. I think Keegan's going to run into some issues if he's going to have conflicts in a state like New York. It's just burning 150K on the first turn is always a bad place to start.
Absolutely. Conflicting early and often is not what you want, like Keegan conflicting with Purple Bernie in California. Keegan going for big states early is a little out of character and not exactly to Abe Lincoln's profile. Keegan also now pipping into women's, which is interesting. Abraham Lincoln does get a fairly decent bonus to women, if I remember correctly, but we're seeing him...
I think he does.
Thinking about Old South with Maryland, Virginia, and North Carolina, which Abraham Lincoln takes a fairly sizable hit to Old South. I don't know how much I like that play, but Keegan did finally pick up some states along with the women's movement. Alex, where do you think Keegan's conflicts are going to leave him in this game?
Well, it seems like he's made a little bit of an adjustment heading into the South, which is an interesting play for Abraham Lincoln, where the South is not where you would expect him to go. But I think he saw how all those big states have gobbled up, and this is going to give him an opportunity to perhaps claim the Old South bonus early, maybe secure a little bit of a base, even though it's not necessarily the best region for him. It might give him an advantage there.
Absolutely, absolutely. And the big thing with Abraham Lincoln, I think, is going to be securing the African-American vote. The sooner he can get it, the sooner he will be in a good position. The question is he going to get New York, Florida, or Michigan? Those are essentially his only options. Keegan also looking now at securing Virginia early. Virginia is typically one of the earliest locks, but turn 5 seems to be a pretty speedy play. Keegan, as we can see, reminding himself of what states fall under the African-American tag. The Bernies are playing fairly conventionally with the light blue Bernie looking at, I think, African-American. Is that what you would say his
North Carolina, New York, Florida looks to be that strategy.
And
we could export
Purple
from
Bernie
them as well.
Yeah, Purple Bernie going essentially nowhere but California. California, while a good state, is not enough to carry you through the entire game. He's going to have to branch out to somewhere else, especially with Keegan, I hate to say ballot rushing, but branching out a little faster than a lot of other people.
Yeah.
Steve has not picked up manufacturing. Sorry, Joe. I was waiting to see if he had manufacturing yet, which he should get very soon with the old Texas +2 adage, him holding Pennsylvania, Illinois, Ohio, and Texas. He should pick it up fairly quick and then be in a solid position in the Midwest and maybe moving into North Carolina. Where do you think Steven stands to go from here, Joe?
I think Steven is on the path to pick up much more than just the manufacturing state group. If you look at this trajectory, manufacturing is a good springboard to get to other things like swing state. Maybe you go to California or oil and gas because you're in Texas. I think Steven needs to look at expanding his state groups and trying to win with more than just manufacturing.
Ooh, as we see $400,000 go up in smoke in Virginia, and Keegan one pipping into Arizona, New Mexico, and Michigan. Now, the only one of those that doesn't really fit within what we sort of saw Abe Lincoln doing before, as Keegan contemplates how dedicated he is to Michigan, is New Mexico. Joe, or actually Alex, what do you think his plan is with New Mexico?
I think he's trying to get that to maybe diversify his holdings a little bit, but I think he's generally spreading out at the moment. We saw he basically did no spend last turn because he knows that they can't steal the state completely. So I think he was just mostly trying to reevaluate, see where people are going, and
As
stop
Keegan
himself.
loses Virginia.
Yeah.
Oh,
He's
and
going to have
Keegan
to face a lot of
fairly
trouble in the South, it seems.
Absolutely, absolutely. The South is going to be a hotly contested area with Caesar taking North Carolina, Bernie holding Mississippi, Virginia, and Florida, and now Abe Lincoln kind of on the back foot, but with Georgia, Tennessee, Louisiana, and Maryland, and Mississippi.
But
However,
like,
sorry,
it's
Joe,
just no, it's just he's probably on his third or fourth strategy here with Abraham Lincoln going into the Old South, which is just not an advisable start if you're playing as Abraham Lincoln. And I mean, he has been forced out, obviously, with the conflicts in New York and California, but I just think it's at a point where he's saving up money, I think probably to go into New York or something like that this turn. But at this point, he's been locked out of so much and he's lost so much money without accumulating the states. He's just in a tough position right now.
Absolutely. And Joe, you are a prophet. Keegan has done the math and has realized he can take New York from Purple Bernie, who is in a fairly decent position in the Southwest right now, taking Arizona and almost taking the entirety of New Mexico. Keegan is currently in last place, but if he manages to flip New York, that will change very quickly. Steven also solidifying his holdings in the Midwest. Half of this map is orange right now, boys. Who do you think is currently in the lead, and do you think that is sustainable?
I think Keegan's going to come out in the best position come this turn. I mean, he's mathematically taken New York. Now the South, while still dicey, he's got a lot of places that he's able to attack from. I mean, Steven has a very tenuous hold over most of his areas. So even though he has the number advantage, it's a very light grasp, and I think Keegan's in a better position to take things going forward.
Yeah, the thing I think is most interesting is we are reaching the end of turn 10. We're going into turn 11 soon, and we are not even sniffing a ballot. This has been a fairly slow game. We have seen a lot of deliberate thought and a lot of conflicts, whether it be California or Virginia or New York. There's been a lot of conflict here.
We're over 8 minutes into the game at this point, so.
And we see Steven, he's going into California this turn. If he can take California at this juncture in the game, you figure it's got to be close to over if he can get all of those state groups and then regroup and go at a lot of these other places with all that cash. California and Texas, that combo is pretty hard to defeat.
Yeah. As Abe Lincoln picks up the African American, which will be huge for him going forward, but Steven does stand to be in a good position if he can grab California. The problem is he doesn't have anything that applies to California. He's just coming at it with his base money. Oh, with a clash in California with Steven. However, Steven, I think, if he manages to hold here with a lock in North Carolina, all but a lock in Michigan, and a lock for some reason in Indiana. Oh, and Keegan has picked up African American and Town and Gown in the same turn. That is huge for a resurgent Keegan camp. Alex, what do you think this bodes for the future of Abe Lincoln's presidency?
Yeah. And I think he's in a sneaky good position, if we're being honest. I mean, he is leading in terms of the electoral votes, but I think it will really come to light once Blue Bernie's out. And I want to say that his fate is sealed at this point. And, that should allow Keegan to take back Alabama, Florida, not even have to worry about New York anymore. And, he's
Well-
already got those 3 state groups. So I think he's going to be in a very good position come ballot.
Well, sadly, Old South doesn't really count much for Lincoln. However, Florida will probably go to Keegan this turn unless we see a very big conflict. Again, Julius Caesar going back to the same well in California. This is a game of chicken between Bernie and Caesar. And did Keegan not go into Florida, or was there a conflict that I missed?
I don't think he
I
went
think
in.
he did not go.
I don't know how I like that move. It feels a little timid. You have African American. You want to move.
He'll be
into
going in this turn.
That is what I'm seeing from the Keegan camp and South Carolina.
I could rationalize why you wouldn't want to go in right now, because I mean, Florida is a state where, especially when you have the 2 pips in, you can only lock it if you have $800K cash that can go in there that turn. It's really hard to have that kind of money, especially after you pip in there twice. I think you can make the case Keegan's making the right move here just to save.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And Stephen finally blinks, allowing Bernie to grab California. What I find interesting is the lack of competition for the Northeast. I cannot speak to what the Bernies are doing, that they're ignoring Town and Gown. But like I said, when you're online, there's a high chance of a mixed bag. Keegan doing some quick math. If there's any threat in Florida. And you were saying, Alex?
I think Keegan's thoroughly dismantled Blue Bernie, and that's part of why there hasn't been as much conflict. Blue Bernie was so heavily invested in the South in the beginning that Keegan's really starved him out, and now he has basically nothing to play with. And Purple Bernie's been so busily focused on this California battle that he hasn't had time to go in the Northeast, which is really accelerating Keegan's growth.
And Spencer, you talking about the Northeast that way, it sounds just like what I would expect from a coastal elite like you. I mean, states in the Northeast don't get you a lot of different state groups aside from high tech and Town and Gown. Keegan's already there.
The thing is, with Democrats, we've discussed ad nauseum on our streams, tune in daily, that the South is a difficult strategy to pull. There are essentially 2 or 3 opening avenues that are actually viable, and the Northeast and New York are probably the easiest ones. Democrats in this game do have a bonus, and Abe Lincoln essentially plays as a Democrat, even if it has an R next to his name. New York is a keystone for any Democrat. And
yeah,
the fact
but if you're talking about the rest of the Northeast, I mean, Vermont is no New York.
No, but Massachusetts and New Hampshire are 2 very important states.
I think Keegan has enough of the Northeast to really reap the benefit. Like, he has enough that he doesn't need to necessarily gun super hard for the Maine, the New Hampshire, what have it. He's got New York, and so like that's really enough. I think he's more concerned with perhaps this Midwest.
One of the promising things I see from the Stephen camp is that most of his holdings here are either Texas, which is going to take a lot of money to overcome, or locks. Stephen is in a very solid position right now.
The issue I see
having
there,
a strong end game.
I think he's going to need to speed up that process of taking California, because that's going to make or break this game. If he can get all of those bonuses associated with California, then I think that will favor him. But if he doesn't get those till later in the game, that cash isn't going to help him as much as it would right now. Just getting all of that free money to help
Absolutely
pressure on Keegan in some of these states. I mean, with Texas and Cali, that gives you ag, that gives you oil, that gives you Latino. You can put pressure in some of these states, like maybe Louisiana, maybe Nevada, New Jersey. I mean, there's lots of different routes you can go when you have all that cash.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, Joe, but we have just reached a ballot in turn 17. This is a slog of a game. However, Keegan stands to benefit most from Blue Bernie's demise. While Stephen, I think, is in a more solid position right now, Keegan is going to be under even less threat than he currently is once Blue Bernie is dead. I think if this goes to Keegan, it will be right here that determines this game because Steven has not gone on the attack against Keegan. Keegan is uncontested in the South right now. He's uncontested in states like Tennessee, in Louisiana, in Nebraska. Steven is in Nebraska. My bad. Apologies to the Steven
Steven is attacking him in Nebraska, folks. Well, that does it there.
The battle for Omaha is resumed.
Oh, Lord.
Are we going to talk about how Keegan has 220 electoral votes right now with 2 other candidates remaining and Bernie dropping out?
Not only did he inherit 3 states, or 4 states, I should say, he inherited 4 well-held states. So this is extremely poor for the Julius Caesar and Bernie Sanders campaigns.
Yeah, picking up Virginia here, we've discussed a ton how important Virginia is as a state, allows him to get into California, which we see him doing now because of that high-tech money. Now, Lincoln has a negative toward high-tech money, but $80,000 is still a free $80,000 to pip into high-tech. And with Keegan having $600,000 in cash just sitting, I think this is a strong showing from Keegan. With Steven's zero spending right before ballot, we'll see how this pans out. What do you think the path forward is here for Steven?
I mean, obviously, California has really killed him this game.
Yeah.
If he was able to take California earlier on, this would be a very different game right now. But Keegan's just been able to creep up because Steven's been fighting there. And Steven has 155 electoral votes. He has 1 state group right now with manufacturing. That is ridiculous. You need to have at least 2 or 3 state groups. Like Keegan has 4. He's got Town and Gown, Old South, African American, high tech. He has many different paths here. Steven just has manufacturing money, which is basically useless at this point.
If I could critique the Steven camp on one thing, I think California has been a waste of money from the beginning. If you want to pip in once or twice, that's fine. But then your goal is to outlive the idiot who decided to spend in California in a 4-person match. You are going to inherit California, not get it at the beginning. And we see here Bernie going out. So all of that money that was burned on conflicts, on pips, all of that is now gone when Steven could have just had it for free and gone on the attack to stop Keegan from dominating the South and the East.
And this is going to be a close game coming down to the wire here. But, yeah, I mean, it's tough because with Steven, with California and Texas, it's hard to really attack him in those places just because he's so solidified. And
absolutely.
Keegan has lots of states where he's only 3 in or 1 in, like Idaho, Montana, Wyoming, and like a lot of those southern states. Keegan doesn't have a strong presence there. So Steven has lots of ways he can attack.
We see $400,000 burned in Arizona. The thing that I think Steven has going for him as we move into the final ballot is that Steven's position is solid. He has in most of his states, while as Keegan, who has more money and more state groups, is a little more spread thin. So the hope is for Steven that you can outlast Keegan. Hope for Keegan is that you can outspend Steven. Joe, if you could pick one spot that you think is going to be critical on this map. Actually, I'll pose the question to both of you before we end the turn. One spot critical on the map right now.
It's Illinois and Pennsylvania are the 2, just because I think Steven's got manufacturing money. He's probably going to spend there. But, I mean, if Keegan can prop one of those away, I think this game's over.
It's manufacturing versus African-American is really the battle in Illinois.
You have to think Abraham Lincoln has a slight advantage there, considering it's a 50%. Oh, and here we reach ballot, if you'll allow me, man. We have another conflict in Arizona, and Alaska stays. Big conflict in Arizona, which is to Steven's benefit. Arkansas is still in the Keegan camp. Hawaii remains solidly. So does Idaho. And here goes Illinois, another conflict. This is tight. This is an incredibly tight wrap-up. Conflict in Montana, which goes to Keegan. New Jersey stays with the Keegan camp. Oregon stays with Steven. Pennsylvania, another conflict, another 10-pip conflict. Ladies and gentlemen, we are seeing a down-to-the-wire. Rhode Island is maxed for Keegan. We haven't seen any states flip, though, is the most interesting thing. Except for West Virginia. Oh, my goodness.
one.
Wow.
72 to 266. And then Wyoming. Oh, my goodness. Oh, my.
1.1 versus 900,000 for each
That is a
candidate.
lot of
Burned.
money.
Did you?
Nope, that's it. I couldn't max it out.
Oh.
That sucks.
Oh my God.
I saw that. I
Oh
fucked it
my
up. I should have.
God.
That sucks. If I had just not put, I should have taken one out of Arkansas.
Arkansas.
I'm so stupid. It was all the time. If we had 3 minutes, I would have won that.
Whoa.
That sucks. That sucks.
That was an incredible game, ladies and gentlemen. I'm so glad that you could be here to join us. Guys, I've had a lovely time in the booth with you, and good night.
You as well.
Wish I could say the same.
Good night, Omaha.